Hi, everybody. I am waiting for Claudia to come in and join me, so hang on a minute. She has her invitation. Here she comes. Woohoo! I think there we go. It's connect. Yeah! We did it!
Can you
Woohoo!
see me? Am
I can
I
see,
am I
but you're
upside down?
sideways. Yeah, you're sideways.
Okay.
So can you turn your
Okay.
phone around? There we go.
There.
Beautiful.
Much
Oh, and
better.
Jenny is here. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Catherine. Oh, awesome. Well, already we have some very prompt people.
And I
It was
have
so
my
funny.
drink.
Yes, I have mine too. Yours is healthier than mine. Although I have fresh lime juice in mine, so lime
Oh,
juice
there
is
you
good
go.
for you.
I love it.
Oh my gosh. Catherine and Jenny, tell us where you are joining us from geographically, and if you have a beverage of your choice, what it is, and we'll see what everybody's drinking tonight. Oh my gosh, Lee, Florida is here. This is my daughter-in-law, who I haven't seen, hence the
Yay.
last name Florida. She's married to my oldest son. And even though she lives like an hour and a half away from me, we haven't seen each other since like April or something. So very fun to have you here, Lee. All right, so Catherine, you're in St. Paul and you have a Merlot. How lovely. How lovely. Oh, well, so Claudia, I'm so glad you were willing to do this. You're my second sort of way different time zone co-host. I have another coaching friend who, like many of your friends, is in Europe. And so she's actually like 2 hours outside of Paris, which I think puts her another hour time zone difference. So it was like 2 o'clock in the morning for her when she came and co-hosted Cocktails and Coaching with me. So at least for you, what did you say? Is it 9 o'clock for you?
It's 9 o'clock right now.
Okay.
Yes.
And you're in Brazil.
I'm in Brazil. I'm in an island, and it's called Florianopolis, and it has a
Oh,
nickname. It's Floripa, the magical island.
oh,
So
the magical island. I mean, I was looking
yes,
at this on your website and it's so gorgeous.
it
Oh, Jeannie,
is.
okay, good. That's right. You're in Wisconsin and you're drinking sparkling water. How delightful. That's very, very, very good of you. I have to have a real cocktail, but that's just how I roll. I have decided that when I write my memoir, which I plan to start next year, um,
Oh,
I think I'll call it On the Road to Enlightenment. I'll have a martini.
I love it.
Right.
I
It's
love
just
it.
kind of how I roll. My spiritual path is so important to me. I would say, the most important thing to me. I mean, don't make me put that up against the test of my own children or something, but like it's just like so important to me. And yet have this wild streak in me that, loves to have a cocktail and, loves to do some fairly irreverent, outrageous things. And so I've just decided that's part of my path to enlightenment, that everybody doesn't do it the same way. And this is how I'm doing it. So, um, that's what I've decided to just accept that and allow that and let it be.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Ah, so now we have Sheila with us. Hi, Sheila. So glad you joined us as
Hi.
well. Wonderful, wonderful. Love those hearts. Love those hearts. So before we get into any of our questions, Claudia, I was so well. First of all, how did you find me? Did you find me on Facebook with Cocktails and Coaching? I feel like that was the first time we met.
I think you must have posted something at Joe Dispenza's, and then I think I found you there,
Okay.
and yeah,
Yep.
I think
Yes.
that's
Yes.
how.
I'm a big follower of Joe Dispenza, so that makes total sense. And let me just
Yes.
say, I saw that heart, Lee. Thank you, dear. I love you too. Um, and and I miss you, and we have to get together soon. But so okay, so that makes sense. That makes total sense that Dr. Joe is our connection. And
Yes.
isn't that the fun thing on Facebook? How there's thousands, tens of thousands of people that follow Dr. Joe's work, and that something caught your eye, you came into my world, now we're connected. I was looking at your website and everything for in preparation for tonight. And the work, I mean, first of all, your site is just gorgeous. Okay.
Thank
So it's
you.
very beautiful. You are very beautiful, but just all the design
Thank
and all of
you.
that. And beauty is very important to me. Like one of the, do you have a Mind movie? Have you used the Mind movie
Yes.
program that Joe? Okay,
Yes.
so
Yes.
Dr. Joe, when you go on one of his week-long retreats, you get this subscription to this service called Mind Movies, which I love.
Uh-huh.
I've mentioned it before. It's sort of like a
Uh-huh.
a video vision board. And one of my pictures in my Mind movie is I am surrounded by beauty. And the photograph I used is one of myself when I was in Paris 2 years ago. And we were staying in the Marais, and I was at the Chanel store there, which has this big, enormous
Ah.
sign connecting, because they have like two stores, and there's about a half a block, maybe it's not that far, but anyway, at least the width of a whole nother store in between them. And so on the
Uh-huh.
sidewalk in between them, they have the letters Chanel. And there's a picture. So I took a picture of that. And what I didn't realize until long afterwards, when I looked at the picture, behind those letters is a mirror. And so you can see me, or I can tell it's me, in the mirror against the back wall taking the
Oh.
picture from the street of the Chanel sign. So anyway, I love
Oh.
that. And I love the outfit I had
That's
on that day, and all those
beautiful.
things. So being surrounded by beauty is just a really important thing to me. And so when I
Beautiful.
went to your site, I just immediately resonated with it in every way that you described this island where you do retreats and everything about your work. But so before I get too ahead of myself, which I am prone to do, why don't you tell us a little bit more about your story? So I kind of said you're a nurse. I took a couple of the top level things off your website, but tell us about your journey and your story of healing and what brought you to the work that you're doing now and all those great things.
Yeah, so as you read on my website before, I'm a registered nurse in US, and I still hold my licenses. And years ago, after being in the ashram in Florida for a little while, I became sick. I was working 60, 70 hours a week in the hospital, in the cath lab or EP lab, cardiology, and intensive care. It was a very adrenaline driven
Mm,
place to work. I was extremely addicted to adrenaline. So, I
mm-hmm,
love all
mm-hmm,
the excitement. And
mm-hmm.
when things were not happening, I would create a drama so we could have some drama. And so,
I think
so
we can all
I,
relate to that on some level. Yeah, yeah.
so so I developed cancer in my colon. I had
Mm,
a colon cancer, and I had to have a surgery, and I was doing yoga, I was eating right, but I
mm,
was extremely stressed.
mm-hmm,
And so that started my journey into healing from inside out, you
mm.
know, and
I love that.
all of a sudden, being in a hospital became very difficult for me, and treating the patients the way that they are treated today. As we know, we have a crisis in our healthcare system. It was
Mm-hmm,
hard for me. I do
mm-hmm.
believe in medicine. I think there is a place for drugs. I think there is a place for surgeries, and I have known many wonderful, beautiful doctors who are in the business because they care, including my ex-husband, an amazing man. He's doing his work because he loves people, and
Yeah.
I believe in that. But I have to say that it was no longer a place for me the way that is being practiced today. It became a business driven and a money driven business. So I decided that I wanted to do something different, that I would
Mm-hmm.
like to be still be a nurse, but in a different level, to be there for
Mm-hmm.
people in a different way. And so I started studying holistic modalities and nutrition and yoga and meditation. I ended up going to shamanic school with Dr. Alberto Viodo.
Oh, yes. I love his work. I was so happy to see that. I looked into actually taking his shaman training program a couple of years ago and didn't end up doing it. But I love his books and I love his work.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
So
And
what was that experience? Not to hijack your story, but what was that experience like being
it
trained as a
was
shaman?
it was amazing, as if I knew that language.
Mm.
I never forgot when the first time I met Alberto and I sat in his class because he's there, he's teaching,
Yes. Yes.
and I was just like, my goodness, I have heard of this before. I just don't know where. I know
Yeah.
these things, but I don't know where.
Yeah.
And I was just so drawn to the language because it was
Mhm.
the language of our soul. It's the
Yes.
truth that we always known and we have
Mhm.
forgotten.
Mhm.
And so it was beautiful. He's a medical
Mm.
anthropologist and a psychologist, and did many, many researches. He talks extensively in his books, and incredible. It was the best
Mm.
experience of my life. I end up um, meeting so many people, beautiful people. That's where I met Joe Dispenza, and we
Okay.
became friends before he became a teacher. And Alberto
Oh.
brought him to class. Yes, and
Really? Oh, I didn't know
yeah,
that. Oh my gosh.
his Alberto is amazing. He every year he
Yes.
surprises his students. There is a gathering every year in November,
Uh-huh.
sorry, and of students we call I lose,
Okay.
and he always brings someone. We never know who is coming, and this time was Joe Dispenza, and next
Oh.
thing I know, I was signing up for his classes too, and
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
awesome. Yeah, I think, one of the things that I like about Joe's work is that to go back to part of your story with all that stress. Oh, and I want to stop and say
Yes.
hi to Midge because Midge, I see you're on with us live and we have your question and we're going to answer it. Um,
Yeah.
but is that it is really more so than our diet, more so than, probably any other single thing. It is that level of continual um, stress and those high levels of whatever word you want to put on it, anxiety, being in that survival mode. When we get addicted to the adrenaline of all of that, which is so common for most of us across the US and probably in other really developed countries and stuff as well,
Mm.
that ends up really being the predictor of our health and what we can tolerate in our digestive system and all these things, more so than the thing. And we
Uh-huh.
end up getting very focused on what the thing is. What's the effect I'm having digestive problems, I'm having heart problems, I'm having a cancer, I'm having a whatever, okay, that we're having, instead
Uh-huh.
of what's the cause of it. And
Yeah.
what I love about Joe's work is that he really focuses on the cause, which is that underlying um, stress level that we end up getting addicted to, whatever our version of it is,
Yeah.
and that's what ends up taking apart or weakening the body and causing the dis-ease that turns into disease.
Yeah.
So thank you for sharing that. So keep going with your
So
story.
you brought us something very interesting, and one of the people that Alberto brought to class once was Dr. Limpton, and so
Oh, Bruce Lipton.
Bruce Limpton.
Oh, another
I
super
know,
genius
I
guy.
know.
Yeah.
So I I I agree with you. One thing we missed to understand is the human body is not just a sack of cells, right? As a matter of
Mm-hmm.
fact, each cell has 3,000 bacteria, you know.
Mm.
So how do we train these bacteria to do the
Mm-hmm.
thing that they need to do, right? How?
Mm-hmm.
So Bruce talks so much about we have an opportunity to be born every single day,
Yes, yes,
right?
yes, yes, yes.
You
I
can,
love that.
and Alberto talks about we can grow a whole new body in 1 year, right? Because
Yes.
it's the information that we are giving to ourselves that is
Mm-hmm.
going to create a whole different new life. So
Mm-hmm.
for stress related situations or anxiety, you are growing new neurons every time with new information. How about create a whole new body full of love and
Yes.
kindness and
Yes.
happiness? You know, so
Yes.
if the focus is love and happiness and joy, serving
Yes.
the other, gratitude, then
Yes.
you are. So this is how we heal ourselves. This is how cancers are cured, or any other types of autoimmune diseases and diseases that people haven't found the cure for, right? So
Yes.
this is how you become your own miracle, right? So you are the miracle.
Yes. Oh, I love that. You are the miracle because we are, in a weird way. Of course, I'm doing it in very different language than you are, but all
Uh,
of what you've just said is what inspired me to start the 100 Days of Living Orgasmically video series that probably, if you're in my universe, hopefully
yes.
you know about.
Yes, I
For those,
am.
so some of your viewers who might be joining us on the replay, which will be so beautiful. And I hope for any of you who are in Europe and join us on the replay, please, say hello, even though we're not, technically live with you, and ask any questions that come up or that you want Claudia or I to answer, because we will gladly go to those. Or I will, when I wake up in the morning, you'll be up before me. And,
Yeah.
review the comments from this live stream, because I am so passionate about this idea of healing ourselves with love, and that it is all coming from the inside out. And it doesn't matter whether you have a health issue or a financial issue or a job issue or a relationship. I would say relationships, finances, and jobs are the three biggest reasons people come work with me, is
Mm-hmm.
because they've got some problem in one of those three. I haven't worked with anybody really with a health, issue. And
Mm-hmm.
in those, it's the same thing though. It is that when we change ourselves from the inside, and we do that with love, not self-criticism, not judgment, not harshness. I often say, like, we will never browbeat ourselves into the next best version of ourselves, which is what we all
Mm-hmm.
want to do. We want to be the next best version of ourselves. But we
Mm-hmm.
don't get there by being harsh and critical and really demanding on ourselves in that way that is constricting, right? Like, even in my, because I'm always talking with my hands, even my
Mm-hmm.
hands, without me thinking about it or doing it, it's like harsh and critical, and I'm constricting. We do it with love, which is always
Absolutely.
open, and it's always reflective of freedom. And even when we have to do something difficult, like leave a relationship or leave a job or go find a job because we got fired or whatever, things that are difficult finances, whatever, it doesn't mean those things all just automatically disappear, but we can come at them from a completely different energetic, and so therefore mindset difference, because we're coming
Mm-hmm.
from love instead of forcing, pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps, all that
Mm-hmm.
kind of harshness that is the way
Mm-hmm.
of,
Mm-hmm.
the old ways of doing things. Midge, I love that. To lead with love. That's such a great quote. Thank you for sharing that with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So for me, I talk a lot about vibration, right? So how
Mhm.
am I vibrating? What is it that I am becoming, right? So
Mhm.
what I am here right now, the way that I'm vibrating, I am attracting. So if
Mhm.
I am vibrating sadness, depression, complaint, uh, pain. If
Mhm.
I have all my I talk about tentacles, holding on those things. It's That's what's gonna show up. So
Mhm.
energy begets energy. We were talking about that the
Yes.
other day,
Yes.
right? So
Yeah.
so what happens a lot of times is we are focused in what is not happening, right? Instead of focusing in the infinite possibilities, right?
Yes. Yes.
So when we have an idea, right? So ideas comes all the time, especially when we are extremely stressful, an idea come, right?
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
first thing we do is to doubt that idea.
Yes.
So I invite everybody to act on it, even if it is a small little thing, even if it is moving the pen, that is in
Right.
front of you,
Yeah.
or or uh, verbalizing the idea, right? Because you are sending a different motion, right? So
Yeah.
you are doing something to stay away from being depressed, worried, and stressed, right? So you are
Mhm.
doing some. So energy begets energy. You are sending motion. So the next motion, the next millisecond will be different than the last one. So this
Yes.
is how this is how life is, right? So
Yes.
you were saying, it's not like your life is going to change from one day to another, right? But you are deliberately working on it and acting on it, right?
Yes.
So that's so when I became sick, that's exactly what I did. I said, I'm going to have my surgery, but I will not do chemotherapy and I will not do anything else. That's it. It's
Okay.
surgery. I changed the way that I eat, do a lot of meditation and yoga, and let's see what can we do,
Mhm.
and so I set out that motion. Then I discovered that I was not living my passion, which was
Mm.
being, yeah. So once I found my passion, i I could not live without my passion anymore. My passion
Yes.
became what my life depends on it. And
Yes.
that's when everything changed for me.
Mm. I love that. Living your passion as if your life depends on it, because it does. And, I've been through a really interesting month or two. I mean, it's been a really interesting year or so. But just the things that have happened in the last couple months have brought me to a similar place where I can't not do my work, this work,
Mm.
this work that,
Mm.
living orgasmically, living lavishly, helping people break through the things that keep them trapped. I can't not do it.
Ah.
And whatever that means for my life, and right now it means I don't have a permanent place to live. And
Uh-huh.
that's, because of several things that are a little more complicated than just my work, but doing my work is part of that. And
Uh-huh.
so I've gone in this cycle of like being very self-critical and condemning of that, like, all responsible 58-year-olds have a home of their own, and what's wrong with me that I don't have that, da da da. Okay, that really isn't that productive. I don't recommend that.
Uh-huh.
And then I've had other periods of time
Uh-huh.
where, because this friend sort of planted the seed for me, she's like, ooh, you're being a wanderer. And I was like, ooh, a wanderer, that sounds sort of sexy and fun, right? Like, that's a whole lot better than homeless, right? So And as you can see, I'm in this gorgeous house right now. I'm house sitting. The only reason we're not outside is because the pool boy is here and he's working on some things in the pool, and I thought it would be too loud. So I've had some amazing experiences not having a home of my own since the end of November last year. So like it's been 9 months since I've had my own place. And so, but what happened, and I would love your comment on this, because
Okay.
so the other day, maybe this was just yesterday, I got in a moment of criticism again about it. And it's just like, you know, where am I going to go when I'm done with this house sitting thing? And just sort of like, I'm so sick of this. I just want a place of my own. I want the money to be, you know, I picked a really expensive place to live. So I can't just, you know, it takes a little cash here to really get yourself established in a place
Uh-huh.
that I don't happen to have right this minute. But, you know, and I just got like all this anxiety about it. And instead of it being this fun adventure, it turned into a very self-judging, very stressful thing. And I mean, I have money in the bank. So I was like, when I get home to this place I'm house sitting, I've got to go find a place to live. Like I just got this real anxious, I've just got to go do it. I'll put the money down on it. Like I can't do this anymore. And as soon as that, I was thinking that, I made myself stop just because I've done this now enough times. I get it pretty quickly. And I'm like, no, like all of those thoughts, I can't do this anymore. I've got to go get a place now. That's all coming from a place of stress and a place of self-judgment. And
Mm.
so taking action on that is not what I want to do, because those thoughts are not coming from any place that I know what peace and freedom feels like.
Beautiful.
And none of it was
Beautiful.
coming from there. So I'm like, no, I'm not even going to open up Craigslist. I'm not going to look at, you know, apartments.com. I'm not doing anything until I can feel that if I'm in a peaceful, liberated place, in that place of infinite possibilities. When the idea
Yes.
comes from there, then I'll go look, because
Yes.
then I know
Yes.
it's more, it's like it's in alignment. It's what I like to call inspired action. But
Yes.
being able to feel that in yourself and notice it in the moment or pretty soon afterwards, that I'm getting all these ideas to go do something, but they're coming from a stressful place instead of a loving, freeing place. Can you relate to that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then what I usually do on those moments is
Mm-hmm.
really ask myself, who is asking this, or who is thinking of
Mm,
this? You know, which
mm.
Claudia, what Claudia, right?
Yes.
And and then and then I look at, so one of my habits that I call it a good habit, right?
Yes.
Is wake up in the morning. The first thing I do, I open up my eye. The first thing I do is I say three things.
Okay.
I am enough. I
Mm,
feel enough, and I have enough.
mm.
Because abundance is having enough,
Yes.
right? Abundance is having enough, right? And so when you bring yourself to that place, there your heart expands. You are
Mm-hmm.
so spacious, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
thy will be done. You
Mm-hmm.
know, when
Yes.
you are totally open, allowing the universe to totally surprise you,
Yes.
and you get
Yes.
to that moment and you say, wow, I couldn't have thought about that,
Yes.
right?
Yes. Yes. I could have never, like the person I'm house sitting for, and this is the second time, at least, maybe the third time I've house sat for them in the last few months. I didn't even know who she was 6 months ago. Like this, I could have never planned this or imagined this or anything, because I didn't even know who this person was. So I love that. So you say, I am enough. I
I feel enough,
feel enough, and then
and
you are, and then
I
you have
I,
enough.
I
You have
have
enough.
enough.
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
yes.
I love that. It's so funny because right now I have a friend who makes jewelry, And I have on
Oh,
she did these stamped pieces for me. My very first program as a coach, my first digital program, I called Enough Already, because that's
ah,
what it was all about, was like, enough already. We're done with telling ourselves we're not good enough, we don't have enough, all those things. And we're going to turn it all around to all those things you just said. So that is so perfect. It gives me chills. So let's see what Lee has to say here. Hang on one second.
yes.
Okay, let's see. I have to open this up to see more. Come on, Facebook. Let me see what else she has to say. Okay, well, I'll start it. In those moments of crisis, I'm being mindful. If I'm being mindful, I figure out where the stress is in my body. Yes, yes, yes. She says, I learned that if it's in my chest, if there's tightness in my chest, it's anxiety and fear. If it's in
Wow.
my stomach, it's shame. Oh, that's super good. I mean, not good. It's good that you know that. And a lot of time, even in the pause, she can help redirect her energy. Yeah, Lee, that is so good.
Mm,
And you're so right. So
mm,
let's use that. That's going to feed, I think, into Midge's question. So let's go
mm.
with this, because I think, Lee, what you just said there is so important,
See,
that
yes.
we have to know what these things feel like in our body, because our mind will deceive us. My mind
Yes.
could do a whole head trip on, no, the smartest thing I could do is take my money and go get an apartment, and I could come up with all the reasonable reasons why that's exactly what I could do. And I could even go
Yeah.
ask people's advice, and I'm sure they'd say, well, yeah, with that much cash, just go get a place to live, and whatever. But that, I know, like you're saying, Lee, in my body, I get it a lot through my shoulders and my chest when I'm in fear and in anxiety. I feel all that tightness. And so I know that. And when I'm feeling relaxed and in that infinite possibility place that I love so much, I'm so open. I almost feel like I have a tube. It almost feels like a big open
Mm,
cylinder running through my body, and I'm just totally open. And the light from the divine, from the field, whatever you want to think of it as,
mm,
can just flow right into my body, and I'm just
mm.
totally open, and it feels so different. And when an idea comes from there, like actually that's where 100 Days of Living Orgasmically came from. I finished a meditation and I just got that idea, and I was like, oh, that feels like such a great idea. That feels like so much fun. So that's what I'm doing. So knowing how that feels in your body, the difference between stress and the difference between freedom, stress and freedom, is so much more important to trust your body than to trust your brain, because your mind will talk you out of it a lot. Do
Yeah, oh
you agree,
yes.
Claudia? Yeah, yeah,
Totally. And the
yeah.
mind only knows one thing. The mind only knows your past, nothing else.
Yes. Oh, yes, yes, yes. That's a great point too.
Nothing
And
else.
it's always trying to prove itself right. I learned that from Byron Katie. It
Yes. Oh,
always wants to be right.
yes.
It doesn't matter how wrong it is, it's going to prove itself right. And so immediately ideas will come up, thoughts from your past, memories from your past, to prove you're not good enough, or to prove that, whatever. You're a loser with money. Your health is bad and it's always going to be that way, like whatever it is. And it will seem so logical, right? Like when we're really
Uh-huh.
caught up in it, it just feels like, well, holy shit, that's the truth. And there's nothing I can do to escape that. It's like a sentence, right? Like a death sentence. And there's nothing you can do to escape it. But it's not true. And our
No,
bodies know that.
mhm. My guru, Emre Desai in Florida, he's an amazing yogi. He tells me, he says, your first reaction is free, which is the thought, right? You think,
Mm-hmm.
but acting on it is not free. So
Mm-hmm.
so you can, so he says, I'm going to teach you a mantra and please don't ever forget. And I became very serious to listen to the mantra. And he says, tell your mind to shut up. That's the mantra.
Shut the fuck up. Yes. Yes. Oh my gosh. That is so that is so true. So wise. So wise. Yes. Well, let's jump with that into Midge's question,
Uh-huh.
because I'm thinking this
Yes,
is going to tie very much into our bodies. I don't know a
yes.
lot about Kundalini yoga, although I have had some energetic experiences that a woman I work with who is a Shaktipat, is that
Ah,
maybe a term? Okay, so
transmitter. She,
she does Kundalini awakenings with people. Um,
wow.
yes, yes, and
Oh,
so
that's
I think
amazing.
I've experienced the energy, but not in a classic form of being in a yoga class or being in a retreat or being in a environment where we were specifically trying to do that. So Midge says her question is, she's just started Kundalini yoga. What do
Uh-huh.
I need to know? So tell her, what does she need to know? Inform us, just enlighten us a little bit about the whole Kundalini yoga experience, or
So
modal. Maybe it's a modality. I don't know
it is
what
a
you would call it.
modality. So it's
Okay.
funny because it's a modality that I don't know much about it. Only that it's which it's practiced usually by a lineage into the
Mm-hmm.
yoga called the Sikh, right? And they practice Kundalini yoga. Um, I practice Hatha yoga, which is classical yoga,
Mm-hmm.
and but I know what Kundalini is. Kundalini is this energy that we feel when we take a deep breath and we close our eyes and we go in. So the energy that you feel into your body is, and you some people feel their chakras is spinning, right? Or they
Mm-hmm.
feel the expansion of their heart. When we are doing Joe Dispenza's meditation, those sensations of going in and searching in and going to the space and all the sensations
Mm-hmm.
we have in the body, that's kundalini. That's kundalini
Yes.
energy.
Yes. It's just so, and so you can correct me if I say anything that's,
Uh-huh.
maybe not right here, not totally right.
Uh-huh.
Because I think it starts at the base of your spine, right? It starts, or maybe
Yes.
even at the perineum. It starts in that root chakra, and
Mm-hmm.
like a snake, it
Yes.
goes up the spine through the
Yes.
back of your head, through the pineal gland, or pineal,
Yes.
however different
P-
people say that. But yes, and then potentially up and out, so to speak, into the infinite.
yes.
Is that?
So when you are breathing, so I'm imagining that Kundalini yoga, it's a yoga based on energy, moving the energy in the body, spinning all the chakras in the body. Most people think that we only have this set of chakra, right? But we have other chakras. In your cells, you have chakras, so you
Mm,
have chakras everywhere. So yeah, it's when we are doing that breathing with Joe, what we are doing is we are bringing the oxygen in and squeezing
mm-hmm,
your the fluids inside of your spine, so that goes into your brain and touches your pineal gland. And the pineal
mm-hmm,
gland has a substance called DMT, and then that substance is released, and that's when we have that sensation that is amazing, right?
yeah.
So uh, unfortunately, as we get older and because we don't practice breathing, our pineal gland, and also the things that we eat and how we pollute our environment, the pineal gland tends to calcify with time. So that's one of the reasons why it's so important to breathe and meditate. It's extremely important.
Oh, oh, that's very good. Yeah, I experience it definitely as it can be a very physical experience. Although I don't always, my body doesn't necessarily sort of involuntarily do things, but
Mm-hmm.
I feel it. Like I feel that movement of energy. And the thing that is, I'll say, that was interesting in my experience early on with it is that I would have this super high high, and I have no idea if this is common or not common, okay? Because sorry, Midge, I don't know enough about this to really know, but I would have this high, and I would get these great insights, like insights that I felt like I just went through 10 years of therapy or something. It was just like bing, bing, ah,
Aha.
just like these big ahas. And then about sometimes a few days or a week or so later, I would crash and I would wind up in this really dark place again where felt like I hadn't made any progress and everything. I'm just a huge fuck up. And what do I think I'm doing being a coach? Because I'm, whatever. And that was when this woman I work with, whose spiritual name is Kai, and we'll do work together. Actually, Kai has been here on Cocktails and Coaching as a guest before, or just somebody on here
Is she
watching.
is she is she in San Diego?
No, she's in Pennsylvania, actually. She's in
Okay,
Pennsylvania.
okay,
But
okay.
she and I are going to co-host. She's going to co-host with me one night soon. I can't remember if we have it on the calendar or not. So watch for that, because this
Oh
woman, I mean,
yeah.
the gifts she has. But so when I was explaining to her what had happened to me, she said, "Oh, well, that's just kind of a classic, I don't know if she used the word crash, but whatever, after a Kundalini awakening. Like it's just a big movement of energy. And if you're working with somebody like in a retreat or something, or a practitioner who's conscious, and you guys are consciously doing that, and they're helping you sort of manage it or go through it or whatever," she said, like, then I would help people understand what's going on and help them work with that
Mhm.
energy that kind of that.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I didn't even realize that's what was really going on for me, and whatever. So I was a little in the dark about all of it, but now
Mhm.
I understand it a lot better.
Oh
So let's see
yes. Emma.
what Midge is saying. Okay, so last week she was learning the breathing sets, and
Mhm.
then this week they're doing the spinal sets. I can tell that at age 60, I have become more stiff in the spine, but this has already given me more flexibility. That's awesome. This
Wow,
morning,
how
she said
amazing.
this morning she did the Sat Kriya pose. I
Yes,
don't even know what
sacred.
that is. Okay, for
Uh-huh.
3 minutes,
Wow.
and her legs were so wobbly. It was an amazing energy for sure. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Wow. Well, you have
amazing.
to keep us posted, Midge.
I love that. I
You're
love
doing an
that.
online course. Oh, and the instructor's live. Oh, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, I need to do more yoga. Like my body, I just haven't done much with my body in the last couple of years, and I have always had a tendency to be too sedentary anyway. And so yeah, at 58, I mean, I'm just a lot stiffer, and I have a lot less, sort of that range of motion, even for twisting, or let alone, going backwards with my spine, or anything. So I really need
I
to add that.
that's one of the reasons I love yoga, because it doesn't matter where you are, what shape of
Yes.
body you have, or how
Yeah.
stiff you are, and yoga, it's so individual to each of us. It's
Yeah.
you go until to the level that you can.
Yes.
It's nobody's paying attention in what you are doing, because everybody is focusing inside. So it's not
Yes.
just a stretch of the body, but it's a stretch of your own way of doing things. I did a lot of work in the Amazon, and one of the things that really impressed me, one of the medicines that I was drinking while I was in the Amazon, is called Bovinsana. And the
Mm.
Bovinsana is a plant that grows in the bay of the river, like in the corners of the river. And when the river gets full, because of so much rain, the bovine senna, she's so flexible, she moves to the side so the water can go through. So you drink that
Mm.
medicine, so you learn how to be flexible with life. So it was just so
Yes.
amazing to me. It was just
Oh,
so
I
how
love
they
that.
it's so beautiful how the natives have this, they really truly live like nature. That's one of the things I wanted to come back to Brazil, was to really go deep into the roots of my roots, and to
Mm,
discover this wild being that I always have been and I've forgotten. I live in the middle of a
yes.
forest. I hang out with
Uh,
monkeys, and it's just
oh
so
my gosh.
amazing.
Oh, I love
Yes.
that. I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
so Midge has corrected what she typed there. He's not live, which is a little bit of disadvantage. So it's just an online course that you're watching. So I
Uh-huh.
gotcha. And yeah, it would be even more cool if he was live. But hey, at least you're doing it and you're experimenting with that energy, because I really think it is about experimenting. Well, maybe that's not the best
Mm-hmm.
word, but like allowing yourself to just do it, right? To go in with an
Mm-hmm.
open mind and
Yes.
participate and see what
Yes.
happens and just be open to
Yes.
it and not be, have an expectation, but also not to have a judgment. I did
Yeah.
a program in May where we did one day a week. We had about a 30-minute or so breathing session, okay, with a breath
Mm-hmm.
worker
Mm-hmm.
instructor. And every time at some point, I'm bawling my eyes out. And I don't even know why. It's not even like something happened or a memory came up and that's what made me
Uh-huh.
cry. I think it was
Uh-huh.
just literally just like releasing old stuff that was
Wow,
stored in my
amazing.
body, right? Because we know
Yes.
that every experience, even from before, because I think it was Bruce Lipton actually, a
Uh-huh.
video. I've not read his stuff, but I've watched a few YouTube videos and stuff of his, and I think he says it starts at like your 6 month try. So for the mom, when she 3 months before you're born,
Mm-hmm.
that
Mm-hmm.
you start being impacted then. And so we have all these experiences that are in our cells, in our body,
Mm-hmm.
from
Mm-hmm.
pre-verbal, pre-birth even. And
Oh yeah.
let's face it, they weren't all positive. And so,
No.
and then there's tons of, I had, my own fair share, as most of us have, of trauma as a kid and da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it was just, it always felt very that's the best way I can say it, is cleansing. When it was done, I would just kind of let myself cry, cry, cry. And then it would kind of go away. And I'd be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like the equivalent of coming in the house dirty and taking a shower. It's like, oh, I just feel so clean.
Yeah.
So I think that we all have, and all these modalities of yoga and other kinds of body work, as well as the more sort of maybe mental and feeling type work, like I tend to focus in, all of it is to clear that out. It's all the same thing. It's all for the same purpose, which is to clear
Yes.
that out. So, because that's how we, step our way to enlightenment, is to
Yes.
liberate ourselves from those things that are truthfully holding us back, whether we really realize it or interpret it that way or not. I love Michael Bernard Beckwith said, in a program of his I was listening to, he said, on the road to enlightenment, there is nothing to gain, nothing you need to gain, only things to let go of. Because we
Yes. And
have everything. We are everything. We are enough. We feel enough. We have enough. It's
yes.
letting go of all the things that would tell us things to the contrary of that.
Yeah. Yes. And that's why I like the work of the shamans in the Peru, Indian Peru, is that they know about this aspect of life, the literal, the body, right? The mind,
Mm-hmm.
and then the soul, and then the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And they work those four aspects of life just like a gear of a car. When they have to be
Mm-hmm.
in the literal, they are right
Mm-hmm.
there. When they have to bring to spirit, they are there. But they know one thing is that the body, the physical body, is dense. And
Mm-hmm.
healing happens in the soul level and the spiritual level. So when you are connected with the divine, it's just a cascade of
Mm-hmm.
light coming into your
Mm-hmm.
body. That's when you. So we waste so much time trying to overcome a pain or trying to lick a wound a little bit more, or feel hurt because a family member says something that touches our, oh, this is so painful to hear. And we forget that this is not even true, that this is just
Right.
gone, it's
Yes.
a, it's a,
Yes.
it's a, so it's a perpetuation of the same old thing. So
Yes.
you can create a whole different pattern, but a pattern now that is loving and kind and
Mm-hmm.
focusing something else. And
Yes.
it's amazing.
It
It's that's
is. It is the
so
power that each of us has. The power that each of because we have the power of the divine. Like my sort of
yeah,
divine alter ego, if you want to say that, is except
yeah.
it has nothing to do with ego, is Aphrodite. Because to me, the goddess Aphrodite is
Ah,
just so powerful and so loving. And so that's
yes.
where I'll kind of check in with myself and be like, now, wait a minute, is this Aphrodite energy? Or is this, fearful energy?
Yes.
Because what would Aphrodite do, in this situation?
Yes.
And Midge, I
Yes.
love what you've just said here in the comments, that you followed your intuition and that you're being gentle with
Oh.
yourself. As she says, I am usually so all in, and with this, I was just guided to pay attention to my body. And if I need a break, I take a
Mm.
break. Ah, amen
Ah.
to that. Yes, yes. When we trust ourselves and our own guidance system more than anything else, more than anyone else's instruction, more than anyone else's idea, there's no guru. The guru is you. You are
Absolutely.
your own guru. Yes, I
Yes.
love that. Thank you, Midge. I love
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Beautiful.
Well,
Beautiful.
such a beautiful way for us to wrap up. So before we head off tonight, Claudia, is there anything, I should have a really profound question here, but I don't. Is there anything that you would like to just sort of leave our group with? And if you would put in the comments your website URL. I mean, it's in, for those of you who are on my email list, you have it in the emails I sent you, but just, I know that not everybody, who comes to the Facebook Lives in the private group is on my email list. So if you would put your website URL there in our comments so that everybody can, get in touch with you and follow you. But what would be your sort of just wrap up closing words for our time together this evening?
Okay, I will try to do this really fast because I know everybody wants to rest and the night is here. But I would like to speak to each of you and whoever is coming tomorrow to watch this.
Mm-hmm.
It's about a community of brothers and sisters here in Brazil
Mm.
called the Rosemary Dream. And
Mm.
these young people, they really touch me deeply.
Mm-hmm.
And I always understood to change the world around us and to change the world out there, to end wars and hunger and
Mm-hmm.
this fight between politics from all over the country and all these
Mm-hmm.
killings. We need to change ourselves.
Yes. Yes.
Sending food to Africa is not going to change the planet.
Mm-hmm.
Sending money to the Amazon and screaming about my country's president about him cutting trees in the Amazon is not going to change this universe.
Yes.
Uh, what's going to change is changing ourselves. So
Mm.
the reason why I'm saying that is that it became my passion to help people to change themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
these people from a Rosemary Dream, www.rosemarydream.com, is doing that, and they are starting very young. And
Mm.
so we need to start teaching our children from very young age to
Mm.
connect with the earth, to
Mm-hmm.
connect with the wildness, to understand that they are made of light and love, And
Mm.
so this is how I want to end today. And also, I'm be going to Paris in September.
Yes, yes.
I hope, hopefully, you will come with
I would
us.
love to be there.
And we are going to be doing something called the womb healing. It's the rights of the womb, and we're going to be doing this in front of the Notre Dame Cathedral. Myself and two beautiful other ladies, Chloe and
Yeah.
Inolia. And
Yes.
hopefully, we will have hundreds of women in front of this church coming and receiving the healing, because we
Yes.
need to heal ourselves. Women, we need to heal ourselves so we
Yes.
can be guidance into this world, so things
Yes.
can start falling where it needs to be, and so we can be in synchronicity with the divine light of
Mm.
the universe. So
Yes,
that's
yes,
that's
yes. I
that's what I
love
wanna.
that. I read all of it. So put that link, and you can do it even after we're done. Add those links to the comments.
Yes.
But because I went to the Eventbrite, site to look at that, and it looks totally amazing. Now, is then are you have you do people make their own overnight accommodations then?
Yeah.
The
Yes.
ticket is
We.
just for the, whatever the
It's for the
interactions
three
with the
day.
three of
It's
you.
it's
Yeah.
it's for the 3 days, and then the healing in front of the cathedral is a free event. It's we want
Okay.
everybody to just come and walk and come, men and women, and
Yes.
and then, as far as having a place to stay, what we decided to do is, when it's getting a little closer, we are
Yes.
going to find a nice Airbnb we can share, or you can pick your
Oh,
hotel. So
yes.
it would
Oh,
not
that
be
would be
so
nice.
expensive for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
This is not
Mm-hmm.
about making money. It's really just having fun while healing this world, and being there and just being
Yes.
present and spreading the love. That's what
Oh, I
this is all
love
about.
that. I love it. There's no better way to end the evening than that, because I think that, first of all, a womb healing is there's been so many things in the last year or so that have happened to me that have been really a
Mm,
rebirth. And I think that
mm,
that's what we all need. There's that degree to
mm-hmm,
which we all need to go right back and redo it from the
mm-hmm,
womb forward, and
mm-hmm,
allow the very best of all of us, that divine, the metaphor I always think of for myself and the divine is that the divine is
mm-hmm,
the ocean and I'm a
mm-hmm,
wave. So there's no separation
mm.
from a wave from the ocean. It moves different, it looks
Exactly.
different. Somebody can go, "Oh,
Yes.
let's look at that wave," but it's the
Uh-huh.
ocean. It's 100% the ocean. And each of
Mm-hmm,
us is 100% the divine. But for most of us, we didn't come out of the womb thinking that, or being told that, or being treated
mm-hmm,
like that. And so to
mm-hmm,
be able to sort of metaphysically and metaphorically go back there and rebirth
mm-hmm,
ourselves into all the
mm-hmm.
love and light that is available for us, which is, of course, unlimited. I think would be such a powerful experience to do it in front of Notre Dame. I mean, Paris is like my favorite city, so there's no better place to me to do it. And so interesting, after their fire, however many months ago that was, that they had the fire there and everything. So anyway, I love the idea of that, and all of the
Brenda,
things that you've shared. Yes.
do you know that the place where the Notre Dame Church is now used to be a gathering of goddesses?
Oh,
So,
really?
yeah, yes, and Paris was named after the goddess Isis, which
Yes,
means
that's
for
true.
Isis. And so
Oh,
it's so
you know what? I forgot
powerful.
about that. Yes. Yes.
So it's
It's such a
so the
powerful, even the first, I've only been there twice, but the first time was like 15 years ago, and the second time was 2 years ago. And both times, like as soon as I'm there, I just feel so at home. Like it just gives
oh.
me this it just feels like home. It's the same way I feel when I get to the beach here in La Jolla in San Diego, which is why I chose to live here. Um, and I, I can't even explain it. Yes, they're gorgeous. Yes, they're this and that. But it's not about that. It's about something in my soul
Uh-huh.
that knows it is home when it is
Uh-huh.
here. Yeah,
I used
yeah,
to feel that way in the Appalachians, believe it or not.
yeah.
It's just, I went to school in a small little town called Hayden in Kentucky. And so I was always wondering, why am I in this city, coming here to go
Right.
to nursing school? And but there was so much history. That's the reason why Frontier University was the first nurse practitioner school in US. And Mary Brockridge was a daughter of a former vice president of US, and she
Okay.
was a wild, wild woman. And I said, of course she was a witch. And I was like,
Oh,
of course I love here because I'm a
yes.
witch. It makes
Yes.
perfect sense.
Makes perfect
So,
sense.
so
Oh,
sometimes we just have to make those connections and just trust
yes.
that that's your truth, and that's your soul
Yes.
speaking with you.
Yes, yes, lovely. Well, beautiful. Thank you so much for staying up late
Thank
tonight and
you.
being with us. Thank you, thank you. And I can't wait to hear from more folks in your audience that'll catch this on the replay tomorrow.
Yes,
Please share your
yes.
thoughts and insights and comments and questions. And I know this will not be the last time we talk. So thank you
No.
guys. Thank you all for being
Thank
here. Much love.
you.
Mwah.
Mwah, mwah.